Were you down in Lexington last week for the elected officials? Yeah, they're in Bowling Green this week.
I enjoyed whatever. It's a nice town. It's a nice facility where they have it. Best comes by doing the elections. Nice food.
Thank you.
Are you newly appointed or have you been the mayor for a while?
That's a trick question. Yeah. So I was mayor 7 years, resigned last.
Okay, you're back.
I'm back.
High energy. I try.
Somebody's phone.
I think it was mine, I do believe.
Say it had to be on this part.
Mark, you want to know if I made it? All right.
You checking on me too?
And David's here too. You met Judge Fields over
Not officially.
He's pretty nice. I haven't really dealt with him. I think it's good here and stuff. He's pretty nice. Seems reasonable.
Yeah, since I keep using the computer anymore, I have to do this. Share my screen. So we're hoping that from here. Yes.
What? I think the meeting starts sooner, I get started.
Oh, we do? Okay. Well. I believe so. Yeah, I saw. Put our priorities in here first. Okay, great.
Good afternoon, we're going to go ahead and get started. For those, glad everybody made it. We didn't have the monster snowstorm we all thought we were going to have there today, so it's starting today, cold like winter. I start our meeting off with our invocation and pledge.
Dear Lord, our most gracious and heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this opportunity to gather today. Today in this work, in this room, in this place, Lord, and truly in this region, we pray for our elected and appointed officials. We pray for our first responders and military personnel. We truly pray for our teachers and child care workers and parents, really working every day to raise our next generation of Northern Kentuckians and Kentuckians in your image. And we pray truly for our residents throughout Northern Kentucky that they might be guided by your word and your ways. Lord, thank you for your amazing grace and the gift of your son Jesus to show us how to love each other and truly how to love you. May we be closer to his example every day. I pray for our important work together today during this meeting. We might be guided by your words. It's in your son's name we pray. Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
liberty, justice for all.
Little reverberation, you start, I've got a quick story, so you know that during NKADD, every bit is virtual. And so Monster Board and one person on the camera and on the audio is me. So I had to lead us in the pledge, why I lost my place. So it was almost one of those where I was kind of going up. So from then on, I literally had to put, it's like putting our Father in front of me. I had to put the pledge of allegiance, so I could screw it. Very embarrassing. I wasn't sweating at all. So thanks, Jordan, for the prayer. And we do have a forum. We do need to approve of our agenda. We do have one item we're going to add to the agenda. And it's kind of perfunctory, but it's basically, we have a state program that we were part of for deferred comp. The state has sent a document over to Sarah to sign, so that we're going to add that to the agenda, give her permission to sign on behalf of the development district for that as well. So beyond that, I'm going to ask for that adjustment to approve the agenda. So moved. So moved, Pat. The second, Lisa, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Next item is our full minutes, as presented. Are there any questions or comments? If not, ask for motion to approve. So moved. Okay. Second. Brian. All those in favor? Aye. Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Pardon? Oh, I screwed up. She actually reminded me to say, do introductions. I was busy telling my story. Let's run around the room with our self-introductions, Casey.
Casey, also County Judge Executive. Matt Overfeld, County Administrator.
Come back to you. We'll come back.
Brandy Barton, City Clerk, Southgate for Mayor Hamburg.
Rob Adams, Mayor Carrollton.
David Wilhoit, Carroll County Judge.
Matt Atkins, Carroll County Community Member.
Bob Porter, Congressman Massey's office. This is Alec Markham, an intern with us, third year at Chase Law School. Well, he did.
Jordan Zubay, Gallatin County. Pat Bailey, Boone County Citizen Rep. Brian Morris, Gallatin County Judge.
Caroline Webster, Boone County Citizen Representative. Kimberly Quinn, Boone County Citizen Representative.
Laura Lyman, Boone County, Judge Executive Rep.
Brian Norton, Kenton County Fiscal Court. Chris Marconi, City Administrator, City of Independence.
Mark Christopher, Mayor of City of Williamstown.
Jamie Baker from Grant County.
Jordan Heisiga, citizen rep from Kent County.
Sarah Cameron, Citizen Rep of Campbell County.
Tom Lampley, Campbell County Commissioner and Citizen Rep.
David Fields, Pendleton County Judge Executive.
I'm Amy Stout from the NKADD. Lisa Wilson, Boone County Citizen Rep. And Terry Johnson, I'm the Executive Director of the NKADD.
Chris Knockelman, Kent County Judge.
Clay Byer, I'm the IT Director here at the NKADD.
Oh, here we go.
Billy Matthews, I'm a Senator Rand Paul in office.
Major for Project with the NKADD. Angie King, representing Department for Local Government and Governor Bashir's office. Amanda Peters, with the Office of Director of Policy.
Good afternoon. Ann Wildman, Associate Director, Aging and Disability Services here at the NKADD.
Lance Hanshaw, I'm the Director of Finance here at the NKADD.
Corey Honor, Associate Director of Workforce at the NKADD.
Larry Brown, yes, I'm here today for Gateway College and Community College here. And we have a special guest, first time after being elected, Senator.
Shelley Funky Promeyer, Senate District 24, Campbell, Pendleton, Bracken, and a sliver of Kenton.
Welcome, Angie. Good to see you as well. Thanks for coming. As always, welcome. Glad everybody's here, and I'm sorry to do that begin. So we're going to jump into our administrative reporting. First, we've got a project play for management.
Good afternoon, everybody. As mentioned, well, first of all, you should have attachment 2 in front of you. certain amount that should all be there. Also on the screen, you can't see. Our management services contract with Donald McCarthy ends in March. So last December, I went out and put an RFP out for bids for new management services. We received 5 bids total. And we chose 3 of those bids to move on to a negotiation and an optimization of our current print environment. And what you have an attachment to is the results of those 3 environment evaluations and whatnot. So all of the bids came back very competitively. As you can see, the price is very similar over the next 5 years. I think one thing to note is the price is much smaller over the next 5 years than our current contract. So that was a plus. What made ProSource stand out was they went above and beyond to, they were here, they emailed me, it seemed like every day, all every day. When they came out, they had everything ready to go and ready in order. I have a recommendation letter that's also in front of you that I printed out for you from Ms. Willis over at the Kentucky CAC. I think things that stood out to me was ProSource is willing to, send their employees and their staff into the community and help out with different agencies around volunteering and whatnot. So, and that's what this letter speaks to. And I also received a very similar recommendation from Mr. James White, the IT director over at the city of Kirkland. So, unless there are further questions, I would love a motion to approve ProSource as our next management service provider.
So moved.
Motion, do we have a second? Second. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye. Thank you very much.
Next, I have Lance give us a financial report update, and Mr. Touch on that.
Everyone should have received the financial report statements in your packet, attachments 3 through 8. I'm going to go over the consolidated one, which is the first one. The FMA committee did meet prior to this meeting, and we kind of goes into a little bit, each of the divisions a little bit. So I'm just going to keep it to the consolidated one. If anybody has any questions on the financial, just let me know. I'll try to answer those. So as you can see, the first one we have here is the revenues. These are as of December 31st. In a perfect world, we should be 50% expended with our funding. So as you can see, our revenues is $13.1 million. If you compare that to last year at 13.4, we are basically on track to receive the same funding through December 31st. And then if you can scroll down to the expenses. Year to date, we have expenses of $11.8 million, and compare that to last year's amount, just shy of $11 million as well. So, cumulatively, we're about 55% of our revenues and 46% of our expenses. We're on track with the revenues and just a little bit under expended with the expenses. And as we've mentioned last board meeting, we do have some vacancies. So hopefully once we get those positions filled, we can increase expenses on some of the divisions. That's all I have on the financial report. Anybody have any questions or comments?
For the Lance's work, some of the programs, a lot of them are just passed through, but we can go through those as well. Mr. Heck, you're happy to go through those too. Those are the questions. Okay. Any questions of Lance? I know you've been working hard in the new role, and so how many days are you now on the job?
4 months.
4 months, yes, so it's baptism.
For about years.
That's how it is working with Karen. Any questions of Lance? Okay, if not, rest for motion to approve the financial reports as presented. Kim, second?
Second.
Second, Lisa. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yeah, so the next item is the FY22 audit. It did get finalized There were no material differences that had to do with gas getting business implementation. So if anybody has any interest in seeing that audit, I have a copy of it here. We also do put that on our website at NKADD.org/transparency. So feel free to check that out.
Oh, yeah. So we do Joe Cunningham, are you on the Zoom?
I am, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. It is now up to you to cover the ethics report.
It's a long report, but I'll get started. I'm happy to report that we have no violations, and I'm unaware of any ethics violations.
That's great. You need more time?
I'm good.
Okay. Thanks for that, Joe. Best job. Whenever he gets off of that job somewhere else, that's the one I want. Okay. We do have, our next item is for the Area Development District Board member of NKADD, which is a state group that Casey Ellis is one of our members. Judge Tomlinson is on that, representing us as well. We really work on behalf of us in Frankfurt and work with the other ads around. But we also would like to propose that David Fields, we asked him to look at his on to see if he can take that role. After 3 times of pushing around, he said he would do it. So I'd like to, on the floor here, if that's okay, take a motion to appoint Judge Fields to be our representative, one of our representatives there at KCF. Motion, have a second?
Be glad to.
We have a motion, a second. Would you like to have an acceptance speech there, Judge?
Thank you, and I appreciate you putting your trust in me. I'll do the best.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Cool. Yeah, we couldn't go ahead and add, as I referred to, the deferred comp. Being able to have sign that, as always, we do this every year. The state requires us to sign on that on the behalf of the organization. The chair of the commission sign on for us. We get this permission to approve that. Motion?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks. I will jump into programs. So local government services. Tara's going to be reporting on this.
I've got a few things. The first is just wanted to give the board a quick update about the local government services team. You may recall that the last time we gathered, for those of you that have been here a while, Emily Goddard was in the role of Associate Director of Local Government Services. This is the group that handles all of our community development and public administration services for the organization. Unfortunately, Emily really felt like it was not a good fit for her. This is the role that Megan Sampson was in for about 12 years. So Emily was only with us about 3 months and just kind of determined that it just wasn't a good fit. So she's actually going back to her previous role at United Way. So we are in a search process for that position again. So just as a reminder, in case you know of someone that would be a good fit, the Associate Director for Local Government Services role is a member of our senior staff team or leadership team here internally amongst the staff. This person oversees 8 team members that range from local planners and community development like grant writers. We staff a number of groups that we're actually going to talk about in our training at 1 o'clock. So if anybody wants to stay on, we're doing a little NKADD 101 for our newly elected officials, so everybody's welcome to stay. But then the other thing that this group does is oversee our commodity warehouse for food. So anyway, we are in that process. If you know of someone, please let me know. In the meantime, I'm very pleased to report we actually have 2 consultants on staff who are kind of bridging the time period. And one name might be familiar to some of you. Well, we have Alicia Chamberlain that we've actually had as a consultant for a while now. She has a role as a former city administrator. She's very well versed in public administration work. And we have Bob Schroggy, who used to be with the ad many years ago and is retired, but he does provide staff support to the Kentucky City County Municipal Association. So we are in good hands while we continue to search for the permanent position So just wanted to provide that update. And then, Judge, if you don't mind, I'll just go straight into my action request. The first is, you have in your packet, and actually I'm gonna ask that we don't take action today, but I'll just let you know that in your packet, you have a plan for our revolving loan fund. And we try not to get too deep in the weeds here, but just for everybody's awareness, we have one revolving loan fund program, but we actually have two sources of funding. We have our, what we call legacy loan fund. Fun fact, back in the early 2000s, I worked here as the loan fund manager from 2004 to 2006. It's been in place for a long time, actually since 1997, when the flood hit Pendleton County. It was originally determined at that time, and then it's evolved over time to serve the 130 counties. And then during the pandemic, we received an additional allocation of funds from the Economic Development Administration. So those are CARES Act dollars. We don't have more funds, but those will revolve over time. And so we had to come up with a plan to govern how those funds will be used. And I was hoping that you could vote on that plan today, and it's in your packet. But I did hear back from the Economic Development Administration that they have a couple of slight tweaks that they would like us to make. Nothing major, and so, but I'm just gonna hold off, but I wanted you all to know it's in there. It would be great if you wanted to read over it and let us know any feedback. We did take it to the revolving loan fund committee and they signed off. The EDA, like I said, just had a couple of tweaks, and I would hate for you all to vote and then you have to vote again. So we'll just hold off on that one, but that's what's in your packet. But I do have a loan request that has also been vetted by the revolving loan fund committee, and we would like your action on that loan today. This is a loan for an expansion of an existing business that is located in Alexandria, and it is a beauty salon. They are seeking $100,000 for capital improvements that would expand. They would have more chairs. They can have more people working there at that beauty salon, and then to be able to expand. The business has been in operation for 4 years. Your summary that was in your packet talks about all the various things that they want to do to the site. One of the things that the committee was thinking about, and you might be thinking about, is that they do not own this building, but the committee insisted on a 10-year lease, so that we know that this is a long-term investment, and they do have a 10-year lease, so that, this is really determined to be something that would be long-term. And so the collateral will be both personal guarantees as well as a second mortgage on their personal residence, which there is space in the mortgage for that. The job equivalent will be 9 full-time employees. And so we are seeking, the committee's recommendation is actually for $75,000 over 120 months at 4%. So the estimated monthly payment would be just under $760. So we are seeking approval from the full board for that loan. For those of you that are new, just a quick reminder, this loan fund is for individuals who actually cannot, who've shown that they need either gap financing or they cannot receive, the sufficient amount of private and financing or qualify. It's meant to be a community development activity. Questions?
Tara, what's the, so do they have a 10-year lease in place at
Yes.
this point? Okay.
Yep.
And what's the logic around 4% interest rate where, well, rates are much higher than that?
I think the idea being that we want to position them for success with regard to paying us back so it's not so high. And that still puts the revolving loan fund in a good position to be able to revolve those funds and get them back out.
Any questions? Okay, we need a motion to approve that loan. Motion to approve. Second, Judge. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to go into our presentation with the minutes here from the Executive Office of Drug Control Policy. So, Amanda.
Good afternoon, everyone. I don't have a PowerPoint, but I did put some one-pagers in your packet. So I quickly go through those, and I'm always available for questions, and then I'll talk a little bit about drugs and some different initiatives in the community. So my office is stationed here at the NKADD, and the NKADD serves as our fiduciary agent. I'm employed by the Boone, Kit, and Camp Fiscal Courts, and I work to advise the fiscal courts and coordinate initiatives within the region. And just because I'm stationed in those 3 counties, I work do a lot of work within all 8 counties. I'm positioned well here at the NKADD and am able to work with different committees and boards. And I'll talk about a little bit more about that in just a second. So this one pager shows my board of directors, our vision, and some of our focus areas. So we're really looking at bringing public safety, public health, and public policy together. The vision, again, is just to coordinate a regional plan and consult with the fiscal goals. Our mission statement is there, and then our focus areas, again, is our regional plan. I'll talk a little bit more about this. We serve as a diversion and deflection resource hub. So different organizations that are doing diversion, dismissal programs, and deflection, we're able to coordinate the resources and do some research should somebody need those. So what does that really mean? So diversion is usually being diverted away from the criminal justice system. We use deflection when we want to deflect persons to community resources. We find sometimes when someone goes to jail or when they need treatments, they don't necessarily need a bunch of wraparound services and treatments, but they need housing, work supports, might need outpatient therapy, things like that. So we want to deflect them to community services. And then dismissal would be working with the court system to lessen charges and either divert. We have our helpline, and so what we do with our helpline is we help people get to treatment. We have an Uber Health program where folks don't have transportation and they need to get to residential treatments or an outpatient treatment program. They may need to get to our reentry hub at the Life Learning Center. They may need help leaving a detention center to get to their next stop. And so folks can call the helpline and we're able to coordinate that for Uber. We do serve all 8 counties, but I can tell you that it depends on if we have a driver. We have a hard time finding a driver in Carroll County. We have a little bit more success in Grant County, and of course, the closer up to the river, we're able to get Uber help. Sometimes we're able to coordinate those rides. Anyone is able to call, but sometimes if we can't find a driver, it just makes it hard to connect. The addiction helpline also helps with Casey's Law petition. Casey's Law is an involuntary process to get folks to involuntary treatment. So say a person has a substance use disorder, their family member or friend is seeing them in crisis, are not able to get them to commit to treatment, you can file a court petition, and that's the process. It's a little tricky, it works with the county attorney's office, you have to have assessments, a lot of different layers, and so our staff can help people walk through that and even show up to court and work with families. We work closely with our police social workers in the area. Northern Kentucky currently has 4. And so if they would need help coordinating resources or a family with Casey's Law petitions, we can support them as well. And then our office also works on local, state, and organizational policy formation. We're working closely with the state around the opioid abatement money, getting information out to the community. There's a new initiative around the recovery ready communities. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second as well. So your next handout is just our outcomes. Just wanted to share a little bit about what we're doing, how many calls we've had in the last 2 fiscal years, our treatment assists. And those treatment assists are where people are calling and saying, I need treatment today. I need to get into some behavioral health today. We're able to help them get there. Casey's Law, we have frequently asked questions, and then our total interactions and follow-ups. So what we found is our people with substance use disorder or mental health disorders need a lot of support. So we call back, we handhold, and we need to make a lot of calls to other organizations. For instance, one of the calls we might get is a mother who has a child and a second shift job that needs to get to an IOP program, which is intensive outpatient treatment, and wants to be on medicated assisted treatment. So then and she might also need to be on a bus line. So then we start calling the organizations to see which ones that would fit her specific needs, and then we can follow up to see if they work. We log our dispatch calls for Boone, Kitten, and Campbell. We have tried to work with the other counties on some different initiatives and haven't been successful, but we are working with KIPRIC, the Kentucky Institute for Prevention Research Center, to get some quarterly data and some dashboards there. So I'll be able to share that with the board in just a couple months. So that data is going to show overdoses and overdose fatalities on a preliminary quarterly basis to really give us a better picture of what that looks like. Some different things on there about Uber rides and the amount spent. I can tell you for the month of January, we've already spent $6,700 in Uber. We know January with the new year, New Year's resolutions, we have more treatment assists and more calls. We have not seen this call volume at this level before. We are now looking at our budget to see how we are going to move things around to serve more folks. So more to come on that in the coming months. The latest handout in your packet is about our regional plan. So this is our one pager on our website, and I can send the link for anyone interested. There's probably about a 14-page workbook, Excel workbook, that really looks around the continuum of prevention, harm reduction, treatment, and recovery. And so some of those initiatives have been to expand residential treatment, which we've been able to do. We've been able to do that through transition and then also addiction recovery care in Owen County. We've been able to create a reentry resource hub out of Librarian Center. And that's really a hub for folks that are criminal justice, and those folks that need those wraparound service immediately. Sometimes they're coming straight from jail, but folks can come for any reason. They can refer themselves to community organizations, and we really needed that pipeline for reentry, get them into workforce, get them into transitional housing, and so we're able to do that through our regional plan and community partners. Part of this plan was also to reduce hepatitis C cases, as well as increase harm reduction and employ a lot of Narcan out in the community. I think to date, we've probably put out about 10,000 doses, and that is a lot of Narcan, and we've saved hundreds of lives. So with that, I brought Narcan, because I wanted to show what that looks like. This is the box it comes in, 2 different doses. This is a nasal spray. Anyone can use this. This is safe for anyone to use. If you would come upon someone and think they have an opioid overdose, but they might be in diabetic shock, it won't hurt them at all. That's a practice for our EMS. When EMS shows up, and they've been doing this before even the drug epidemic started. That's standard practice. They give them Narcan. If it doesn't work, then they go to the next thing. This is safe for pets, for children. It's very easy to use. The training takes about 5 to 10 minutes. My staff can do this, and you can call the helpline. You can do it virtually. We can send you a video, and then you can do a questionnaire, and we can mail it out to you. The health department also can do a mail-out program, and we have all of this information on our website. I have one more thing I want to tell you about this, but
Does it have to stay above freezing in your car?
you don't want to put it in extreme temperatures. So normal kind of temperatures, spring, fall, it's fine. Cold temperatures, it may not be great in the hot temperatures. I carry it in my purse. A lot of people put a hole punch and carry it on their keychain. It can hurt you, and we think everyone is a first responder. What I want to tell you, it's free. We get this through different areas. So one of the ways we get it for our helpline is through the Healing Community Study, which is a coalition that we're a part of. That's out of the UK. It was a $93 million grant, and there were 17 counties in Kentucky, and Kitten and Campbell were chosen for Northern Kentucky. And that was based on overdoses and deaths around the region, and then there's 15 other counties. But we are able to get this we can employ this anywhere. There is Narcan. So again, call the helpline, or you can email me. My information is on one of the handouts, and I can bring some cards up. But we think everyone should have this. One of the reasons we think everyone should have this is the drug trends. So if Northern Kentucky had a heroin problem, we would probably know how to deal with this. We could save more lives. But we don't see a lot of heroin anymore. What we see is fentanyl. So fentanyl is a synthetic opioid. It's very deadly. It's getting pushed out from the cartels. So this amount of fentanyl compared to this penny can kill someone. So why are we seeing an increase of deaths? 2023, we're going to see a very high number of deaths. We'll end up pushing fentanyl more, but we're also seeing it laced. So we're seeing methamphetamines laced with fentanyl, cocaine laced with fentanyl, and then the pill presses. One thing we know about people with substance use disorders or mental health is they don't always get their health care and medicines from their doctors. It might be they go to someone and they need to get a Percocet just for that day. They might know someone that had a panic attack and they go get a Xanax. Well, we don't always know where folks are getting it. They're probably not always prescribed. So when you go and buy it on the street, what we're seeing is those pills are straight fentanyl. So you can buy pill presses off of Amazon. And again, this is all it takes. So we're seeing college kids might go out for the first time, try cocaine. We might see folks go and use, oh, I need a Xanax, and they are dying. So families that have never seen anything about this, never heard about this, we're just seeing a huge increase. That's another reason we want to push this Narcan out as quick as we can. So with that, there's going to be some campaigns launched. The DEA, working with our drug strike force, has a campaign called One Pill Can Kill. I can send information on that. And then also the Attorney General's office will be kicking off a campaign called Fight Fentanyl next Wednesday. There's going to be a meeting and a roundtable at 1 o'clock at the Kenton County Fiscal Court building. And then they will be going around the state. And I'm waiting for a lot of documents probably to be pushed out. We want to get this to the schools. We want to get it to organizations and businesses, as many families as we can. The other thing I can tell you about fentanyl is we're now seeing it in vapes. So whether they be marijuana vapes or tobacco vapes, they are seeing. Like I said, we get a lot of dispatch records and we are seeing them happen at schools. So this is where it's happening for you. With that, talking a little bit about the rural counties, NKU has secured 2 grants. Well, actually, it's been about 5 in the last couple of years, but we're currently working on a HRSA and COSAP grant. These are in Owen and Carroll counties. And they were brought about because within the federal government of our 8 counties, those were the only 2 considered rural that could apply for these. So that's why they're in Owen and Carroll. And so with that, we have partners down there. We've been working with the police and sheriff's departments there to look at overdoses and what's happening. And we know that we've seen some overdoses at the school in our rural counties. So we're working to get Narcan there and information as well. A little bit about drug trends. Talking about a few of the 8 county initiatives. So one of my jobs is also to stay in the know of what's happening in the region. So I work to collaborate and connect and communicate. When there's different proposals out, when I hear some things or initiatives with different organizations, I can connect them, say, hey, these folks might be working on this. This would be a good partner. North Key works in all 8 counties. CAC works in all 8 counties. Life Learning Center is trying to expand more to our southern counties. And so we want to make sure people know who's down there, who to connect with, and then also some of the cultural differences that we have between our counties and some of the different barriers. There's not a lot of recovery housing in the rural counties, but there's some initiatives happening with Brighton Center and through these grants with NKU that they're trying to open that. It's one of the ways that ARC was able to come down. And so we have a 100-bed facility for women down there. We're able to connect those more. One of the other 8 county initiatives is our Agency for Substance Abuse Policy Board. So all of our areas in Kentucky have this. Northern Kentucky is one of the only areas that has an 8 county board, which is all the counties of the ADD. This ASAP board really looks at prevention, treatment, and law enforcement. All the judge executives have a designee, and I know Judge Fields comes sometimes. Brian and Laura are there. And Laura Kleiman is our past chair. So if you need a connection for the board, that is a great one to learn more about that, and I can send information. And our current chair is Alan Reineke from the Campbell County Fiscal Court. And so really looking at policy and how to connect resources there. And one thing that ASAP has been really great about is helping to get some grant money out into the community. So there's a coordinator there that shares events, shares Zooms. They run a treatment collaborative for anybody in treatment that wants to come and talk, make sure they're collaborating. Because we know where people are hard to serve. And sometimes it takes more than one treatment stay to get where you need to be on success. So a lot good happening in ASAP, but that is an 8 county initiative. That is something we can tap into here. Also, our prevention coalitions. Northern Kentucky is the only area where all of our coalitions are federally funded. And we actually have 11 coalitions. So we have an extra one at Erlanger Ellesmere. I'm trying to blank on one, but also Covington Partners is also considered a coalition. But all of our counties have them. And so where my staff may not be working directly with those counties, all of my staff attend those and make sure that they know about different resources in the community, how we can connect things. And I actually have 2 staff going to a conference in prevention that is being sponsored by Pendleton County Coalition next week. So they'll be able to bring information back to the region, and I'm happy to share any of those resources. So I just wanted to share a little bit about how we work with the 8 counties, even though our work is primarily in the 3 counties. Some of the things on the policy front, of course, we're looking at the opioid abatement. The portal is now open. If you would like any information on that, let me know. The commission is still deciding on how to review applications and what that looks like. They have not decided that yet. It's usually the second Tuesday of the month. They have a meeting down in Frankfurt. That is virtual, if anyone's interested. This is separate from the city and county money, but you can look at those and how to get more information there. We're also looking at the recovery ready communities. So what this was House Bill 7 in the 2021 session. This was put forth by Representative Bowling and really wanted to look at kind of a scorecard of what recovery ready communities look like. And so there is criteria, and I have a scorecard, so I can share that as well. I'm just going to send you a bunch of links and attachment, which Judge Malcolm is used to and manages. Lots of information.
Constantly.
All the time. They're like less Amanda. But we have some information there. And so what we're doing now is we'll be working with our local ASAP board to figure out the best way to apply. Do we apply as a region? What does that look like? Because that's going to prime us for more funding. And we want to be recovery ready, because Northern Kentucky is. Northern Kentucky needs a state in many ways. In other ways, Kentucky needs the nation. We are moving very quickly and have a lot of initiatives, been able to move harm reduction quickly, medicated assisted treatments, and lots of things like that. We're also tracking the 1115 waiver for Medicaid, which is allowing substance use treatment to be Medicaid reimbursable in jail. And so we're hoping that will be expanded. We're hoping to hear any day now, but that would be one of the burdens that might be taken off of the county. We know cities and counties carry a large burden in this issue. I think that is it. I know I always get a lot of information. I'm talking slowly for me today.
Someone's going to give you a compliment on that.
Usually I rapid fire. Laura is shaking her head.
Don't you agree?
She is, yeah. Give you a great presentation. Very, very slow. So many questions? Yes, sir.
Did you all receive any of the opioid settlement funds? Like a lot of our communities are getting those funds and they're very limited what we can do with them. I was at a meeting this morning and one city administrator was wondering, like, can we buy a pickup truck or Public Works with those funds? And they're very limited. Judge, I don't know if the county is receiving those or if your office was a recipient of those opioid.
They go straight to the fiscal courts.
Okay.
Yeah, so really, we've gone to Amanda and her office to basically propose, that you probably are going to hear something very quickly about that, to basically do that as a group effort to get more bang for the buck out of it. So we're not just buying a pickup truck or. So we got the check too, so it was 2 weeks ago or something like that.
Okay.
At least the first round. But that's the good news about Amanda is that we're not going to come up with some individual effort. And we can really solve and put it to work in the regional effort. That's the much better solution.
And even when you think about Narcan, one of the things that we're able to do here at the ad is for some legal reason, NKU cannot buy Narcan. So the ad is able to fill that gap as community service. So they coordinate with me, I can put the order in with the Pharmacy Association. And so, but when we buy $22,000 worth of Narcan, it's only a couple hundred doses. So when you think about how you can use this money, it will be advantageous for local municipalities to pull their money.
Looking at your outcomes sheet.
Yes.
Here in year 21 to 22, is there anything to make of the fact that the dispatch calls catalog dropped so significantly? But I'm assuming you've looked into that.
Yes, so part of that is we were able to really start drilling down on the data. So in Kenton County, we get all the social calls to really look at DUI, domestic violence, what's happening, how this is connected. In the other 2 counties, because the systems are different, we're not tracking the drug-related ones there. And then also with COVID, we saw less people calling, which was interesting. So in some areas, we saw them increase around mental health crisis, but people are not calling in overdoses. Some of that is, we've seen the drug trends change. We have a lot more methamphetamine. And so a methamphetamine overdose is cardiac arrest. Very different than an opioid overdose. Opioid overdose is respiratory failure. And that's all this does, is enable people to breathe. So as we're seeing different drugs come in, folks aren't calling 911. Or we've also employed Narcan out, which is great. We put it out to the community, but then they don't call 911 because they have it. So that's a couple different factors there. That's a big difference. We've been looking at that, right?
This is great information, great work. I think, and you've got some really great dashboards on your website that are tracking some data against your goals. What I might consider more outcome-based data rather than the output, kind of like numbers of calls, that sort of stuff. So how are you tracking against really these goals over the period of time during this plan from 2020, now we're in 2023. And certainly the dashboard for the Northern Kentucky region around overdose fatalities is looking really, really significantly better than the state and really, really significantly better than national trends. So congratulations to you and your team on that really critical and important work. And some of the other goals around Hep C, there's not data past 2018 on your website. I'm sure you're aware of these issues, but same sort of, so I would love to see that kind of data over that period of time, and some other dashboard that would show the changes over time on some of the other goals. So availability of effective treatment services, what did that look like in 2019, 2020? What does that look like now? How many beds? Right. What is that trend data for the system of support services over time? I think some of those dashboards would be really, really helpful to track kind of some of how these dollars are not only showing outputs of number of calls, number of Narcan distributed, that sort of stuff, but also how many over time, how are we implementing and attacking our goals that we set out 4 years ago?
Definitely. So as our regional plan just wrapped up in December, this is a 3-year plan. There's probably about 75 organizations within that plan. And so we do have some outcomes we need to track. And so we're in the process now of going back to our community partners. How many brochures did we get out? How many doctor waivers did we increase? And that means how many doctors can now prescribe opioids or buprenorphine, medicated-assisted treatment, compared now to 3 years ago. And so some of that is in the works. You know, how many Hep C cases do we have? How many do we have now? So we are working on that because the outcomes are very important, but also working with the different organizations to try to track that information. And what we've learned is not all organizations track data in the same way. So that will be a big initiative as we move forward about what does this look like? How do these outcomes really match together? So I think that's a great point.
Just want to bring, I'm sorry. I just want to bring one thing up. The meeting we had in Boone County with ASAP put on the opioid.
Yes.
Yeah. And he was talking about the grants that different entities are filing for. And I spoke to them after the meeting, and I asked them if there was any portion of when they file for these grants, so they come back from the different counties that they be included in what their projects that's in their plan. And at that point, there wasn't. So if you were in that meeting next week, I appreciate if they could put something in there, you know, if a different entity is including 8 counties or 6 counties, that they could, you know, make that something when they need to reach out or even next time to meet with the counties, officials. That'd be great for us. That way we know what's being done in the county.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point. So what I can tell you about the commission is it's statutory. And so there's been able representatives. So there's people representing families with substance use disorder, lived experiences, Cabinet of Health and Family Services is on there. So different people that bring different knowledge. Dr. Walsh of the Healings community setting. But as a collective, I think they're still figuring that out. And I don't know, you know, Van Ingram was there, but there's not a whole lot of experts. And this is very new. In September, the commission is going to be holding an information conference. So they're in the works. So they've opened the portal in December, but then they're going to have an information conference in September. So they're still working a lot of these things out. So I'm not sure they have all the details figured out yet. But I do talk to them regularly. I'll see some of those folks next week, and I will make that suggestion. Because they are listening to Northern Kentucky. They look at Northern Kentucky as a leader in this, and as a model with some of the initiatives around the state. And so if there's other things that you can think of, please feel free to call me, email, whatever that looks like, because Northern Kentucky is aggressive in grant funding, and we are really responding in a way that not everyone is around the state.
Great. Well, feel free to reach out to Amanda, and I see a lot of good work. The overdose deaths are down, but the overdoses themselves are not in great shape at all. So, okay. Thanks, Amanda. Okay. Karen?
I have just a couple of items in my report. I don't even have a handout today, so it'll be quick. First, immediately following this meeting from 1 to 2 p.m., we will be having a training for newly elected officials or anyone who would just like to know a little bit more about what the ad does. We're going to go a little bit in depth to all of our divisions. So if you would like to stay, we would love to have you. If you're not staying, we would love to have you, but you might want to go out in the lobby so we can get started. And then I did just want to say, I think the board has gotten, sorry, but it's true, we do need to start at one. Housing data study. We talked about this a little bit. I've sent you guys some emails. I just wanted to let you know because such an important topic. You know, my 3 themes for my first year as your executive director are communication, cross-division collaboration, and our customer service to you, our communities. And one of the topics that really goes across all 3 of those themes is the topic of housing. And housing has just so many components. There's affordable housing, there's transitional housing, there's workforce housing. We can name it so many different things. You're just calling it housing. And we did start this conversation back when I was on the workforce team and really determined that there just needed to be some more data. And it's specifically data across all 8 of our counties because we need to understand the price point of how, you know, whether it's rental or you know, mortgage, also just actual availability inventory wise, and then how do those factors correspond to what our average wages are in our employment hubs throughout the region. And so I just want to provide just a quick update that we have been working with our fiscal courts, and that really started because each one of our 8 fiscal courts are on a local governance group for our federal WIOA funding. So that's kind of how that initiative kind of originated. But everyone is welcome to provide information. If you're at a city level, we would love to hear your thoughts. An RFP was issued in the fall. It was extremely competitive. We had 8 very strong proposals. A consulting firm named Stantec was selected. It is going to be split across both our fiscal courts. I sent an email to many of you yesterday, so look for that in your inbox. But we also have some other stakeholders that are putting in money as well to make it all work out. And we anticipate the study taking about 6 months. This will be public data, and I definitely will make sure that this information is available to all of our board. And then it'll really be kind of the information of our communities to then do with it what they want. There's not really an agenda here from the ad other than to make sure that you have the tools that you need to move ahead. And some communities have already done some of this and some have not. So this will hopefully get everyone on a common, conversation and have that data to be able to work together, hopefully on some strategies. So if you have other questions about it, I am kind of nerding out about the whole thing, so I can talk for a long time. But I'd be happy to talk to you offline and answer any questions that you may have. Also, speaking of, just making us better, I've been in this role for 6 months now. It continues to be an honor to serve you all and to hopefully bring new ideas that I come across. So I do attend monthly meetings with all the other 14 ad directors. and I'm constantly learning, and we're having conversations about what we can do better here. We don't want to change everything all at once, though, of course, so kind of trying to be incremental on those. And then also, I will be actually attending a training for new directors of organizations like ours in April, and so really looking forward to hopefully bringing back some new ideas from that as well. But again, implementing them in a thoughtful way, not just everything all at once like I would probably like to. So that is my.
Thanks, Karen. The only other thing we have, I wanted to bring up is that we do need to, would like to ask for permission in the coming weeks, month, to go out for RFP for a new auditing firm. We've been vetting for a number of years, and we'd like to cycle through that, keeping that habit of going out for bids. So just giving staff permission to go out for RFP for a future auditing firm for the organization. So for that, I can ask for permission. Yeah, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Are there any other questions or announcements from the floor? While we have a moment. Okay. With that,
Judge, I'll make an announcement real quick.
Yes, sir.
I just want to shed some light on an announcement that was made about an hour ago. And it's pretty great for our region, especially for Carroll County. But North American Stainless made an announcement that they're going to continue to invest $244 million in Carroll County. And that's going to create an additional 70 jobs as they expand that aluminum mill, or excuse me, that stainless steel mill there in Carroll County. So congratulations to North American Stainless. And that's a big win for our region and our Commonwealth, so that's good.
great. Way in on a very high note. So with that, ask for motion. Motion second. Have a good afternoon.
I need to, I'd like to stay for this blue